We get in trouble.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to this HDC Cabinet meeting on the 25th of September 2024. My word, is it that date already? I'll try again. Welcome to the Cabinet meeting of the 25th of September 2024. I have the usual housekeeping announcements. Please note the fire location of the fire exits. Please make sure that your mobile phones and other devices are switched to silent, and an audio recording of the meeting is being made and will be published on the Council's website. Apologies for absence. I have apologies from Councillor Sam Raby. Item 2, minutes of the Cabinet meeting held on the 26th of June are on pages 5 to 18 of the agenda. I move that these minutes are approved as a correct record. Are you in agreement?
Yes.
Thank you. Item 3, declaration of members' interests. Does any member of the Cabinet have an interest to declare relating to any item on the agenda? No? Okay. Item 4, announcements. I don't have any announcements. Do any other Cabinet members have any announcements? Ruth.
Thank you very much. Those who've been with the council for a while will be well aware that we have our own building control company at Sussex Building Control, and every year there are awards for building control. Award competitions, the Building Excellence Awards. So this year, our company, Sussex Building Control, put forward 7 entries at the South Eastern Regional Awards, and we're really delighted to announce that all 7 entries are winners at this level and will go on to compete at the grand final in London next year. In particular, I'd like to highlight the personal awards for Public Service Superstar, Ros Moth, is it Moth? Ros Moth, and Local Authority Building Control Newcomer of the Year, Charlie Nell. So congratulations to both of them, and also to our team behind this successful company, because we've done really well growing our own talent for Sussex Building Control and making Horsham a good place to work. And I think that theme carries through the whole of our planning department. And in the spirit of this, we've had an independent review of the Development Management Service earlier this year, and the team are continuing work on a programme of improvements. So we had a new venture last week, which was a backlog clearance week, which is really exciting, isn't it? But important. And the team rearranged themselves entirely for the week and managed to, focusing on all the little things that had been holding up various things and preventing determination within time, managed to determine 116 applications in 1 week. So I'd really like to congratulate the team on their efforts, and Emma Parks for organising that as a new feature for us. This is going to help improve workloads and the speed of decision making as we go forward. So thank you very much to everybody in the planning department.
Thanks very much, Ruth, and although I shouldn't really don't make a habit of singling people out, but I was particularly pleased to hear about Charlie Nell, because he was previously awarded in the unparished area, we'll be familiar with, so well done, Charlie. Are there any other announcements from Cabinet members? No? Chief Executive? Okay, thank you very much. Item 5 then, public questions. No questions from members of the public have been received. So I'll move on to item 6. Crawley Borough Council, Horsham District Council, Mid Sussex District Council and Mole Valley District Council cash collection contract award on pages 19 to 26. I invite Councillor Mark Bainham, Deputy Leader and Cabinet Member for Finance and Resources, to introduce this report.
Thank you very much, Chair. This, as the title suggests, relates to a procurement exercise that we have been running. This is for the collection of cash and the banking of cash that we receive at car parks and other places where people pay fees in old money. Our current contract with our current provider for this ends on the 31st of October. So we've been running this exercise in jointly as the lead with Crawley, Mid Sussex and Mole Valley as part of our joint procurement framework. We've received a number of bids as detailed in the exempt appendix, so I'm not going to quote from it because it's exempt and would have to go into closed session, but it's there for you to read. The pricing evaluation has been undertaken, which accounts for 70% of the scoring weighting. The next stage is the quality evaluation, which covers operations, contract management, implementation and environmental impact. And that will follow quite shortly. And then following that, with amalgamation of the scores, the higher scorer will become the preferred bidder. So the recommendation to Cabinet is to approve the award of a cash collection contract to the winning bidder following the conclusion of the procurement exercise, and then to delegate authority to the Director of Resources in consultation with the Head of Legal and Democratic Services to finalise the terms and conditions of the required contract, details of which appear in the appendix.
Thanks very much, Mark. Do any other Cabinet members have any comments on this item? No? Are there any questions from members present? Councillor Circus.
Thank you, Leader. I noticed that each council has their own contract in this. I don't know whether one can call it a consortium, but it's a shared procurement. I wonder whether it's logical to have shared procurement but have individual contracts. One would have thought shared procurement implies a shared contract, and wouldn't there be advantages in having a shared contract, in terms of the deal one can strike as for authorities seeking a contract rather than individual contracts? And perhaps there could be a bit of explanation as to how 4 individual contracts by 4 individual authorities represent shared procurement.
Okay, well, although they are 4 separate contracts, it's one process that puts them together. So as the lead in this process, Horsham has been doing the first part of the assessment, which is around the pricing, which is fairly straightforward. The second one, which is the quality one, will be done through a joint meeting of each of the 4 participants. And then the reason, although they are 4 separate contracts, the councils have come together and saying, we are operating on a best value basis for what you can give for the 4 of us. So I don't think having separate contracts actually would reduce the price, which is, I guess, the key issue.
Can I just ask, does that mean these 4 contracts are identical except for the name of the authority?
I would have to refer to that.
They'll be extremely similar, yes, but there'll be different quantities involved, which is why some will be higher than others.
Any other questions from other members? No, in which case, could I ask then please for Show of hands in favour of the recommendations as set out. Okay, that's unanimous. Thank you very much. Item 7, update on Council's financial position in 24-25 and medium-term financial strategy update 25-26 to 29-30 on pages 27 to 51. I invite Councillor Mark Bainham, again Deputy Leader and Cabinet Member for Finance and Resources, to introduce this item. Thanks.
Thank you, Martin. So this covers a number of different issues within one paper, but on the first aspect of it is our current financial position in 24-25. So how are we doing? Well, I think the headline point is that in the year just gone, i.e. 23-24, we came in with a small but healthy budget surplus. Our projections for this year show we are on a trajectory for a fairly similar outturn this time round. So that is indeed very good news. But this only happens by careful management and curation of our finances. This is something that I promised to do in my budget speech last February and that I reiterate today. So all looks well for the immediate future, this current financial year, but what about the longer term? Well, there remain significant challenges, as I've said in this forum more than once before. Table 1 points to a balanced position for 25-26, with an increasing deficit trajectory reaching 2.29 million by 29-30. But this is actually a significant improvement on this stage last year, when the MTFS was predicting a 29-30 deficit of 3.23 million. That's almost £1 million more. So progress has indeed been made. As always, the predictions are based on best working assumptions, and some are difficult to know, particularly the level of government funding we will receive under the temporary funding guarantee, an oxymoron if there ever was one, and compensation for the introduction and running of food waste collections, for the which will commence in March 2026, and will involve a very significant extra revenue expenditure of around 1.8 million. These unknowns mean that we will need to continue to plan budgets on a yearly basis as the situation unfolds. It also means that we must achieve a net zero budget for 25-26, and that involves some difficult choices. In preparing for this budget, we need to fill a significant budget gap. Some of this will come from the as yet unknown funding guarantee, as last year, but we will need to raise a little under £1 million from a combination of reducing costs and increasing revenue. This paper recommends 3 specific proposals for revenue increase. The first one is to increase the garden waste collection charge from its current £54 to £59, which is a 9% increase. But the charge will still remain one of the lowest in the country. I just heard today that East Hants, for example, now proposes to charge £120, so double what we are. So that's the first proposal. The second proposal is to increase Monday to Saturday car park charges by an average of 9%. Charges were last raised 2 years ago, and this reflects the increase in the inflation index since then. So I think that's quite reasonable to do. The third one is to introduce a new tariff for Sunday car park charges in Horsham Town to replace the existing standard all-day rate. I realise that this proposal will not be very welcome by all. Increasing charges rarely is. But there are compelling reasons which I will go into. But first I'd just like to make a small correction on the paper. Paragraph 1.31 states the rates for, the proposed rates for Pyrrhus Place, Swan Walk and the Forum, and they don't quite agree with what appears in Appendix 2B, which is a slightly smaller figure in each case. I'd just like to say for the record that the correct figures are those that appear on paragraph 1.31. So, why are we doing this? Why do we need to do this? Well, town centre footfall on a Sunday here in Horsham is little different from weekdays, excluding the office workers. Shops, hospitality and entertainment are open as normal. Free or cheap rate parking on Sunday goes back to bygone days when most places were closed. In spite of this, the new proposed Sunday rates are a little cheaper, or not a little cheaper, are a lot cheaper than weekdays at just over half price for the day than the standard weekday rate. Then we have to look at what do our neighbouring councils do. Where do we fit in this environment? Well, neighbouring councils generally charge the same or nearly the same rates on Sundays as weekdays. We are the outlier here. And when I'm talking about neighbouring councils, I'm referencing Chichester, Guildford, Crawley, Reigate and Banstead, Worthing. The exceptions are Mole Valley, where it's currently free, and Mid Sussex, who are introducing a £1 Sunday rate, all-day rate, as we speak. Brighton is, of course, on another level, and I understand you have to actually sell your car when you leave the car park to pay the charge. A third reason is that costs to HDC for maintaining and running the car parks on a Sunday are the same as any other day of the week, but the income is far less. So that means that all council taxpayers across the whole district are actually subsidising Sunday car parkers. You have to ask yourselves, why should they? And then fourthly, and this is probably one of the most compelling, if we lose this potential income, which we estimate at £134,000, we would have to make cuts elsewhere on non-statutory services. So parks, perhaps, support for community groups and charities. Really, there are no palatable options. So I'm not going to go through every detail in this paper. It's quite long, it's quite detailed, and it's well drafted by my excellent Director of Resources. But I'm open for any questions. But, oh, sorry, I should recommend it, shouldn't I? Yes, the recommendations, Cabinet has recommended to note the changes detailed in this report in the financial position in 24-25 and the MTFS, and subject to Council's approval of recommendation 4, to approve the introduction of overnight tariffs in Pyrrhus Place and Swan Walk, the extension of car parking charges period from 6 to 8 p.m. in North Parade. Actually, I won't read them all because you can read them there, but they're as detailed in the paper. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Mark. Are there any comments from other Cabinet members? No? In which case I'll just say thank you very much to Dominic and Sam and the team, and Rob Leeds in parking as well, and to you, Mark, for all the work that's gone into putting this together, because I know it's one of the big ones. With that, I've seen the indication I need to be closer to the mic, either that or I need to shrink a bit. So with that, any questions from other members present? No? Okay then. Can I then ask for a show of hands from Cabinet members in favour of the recommendations? Okay, that's unanimous, thank you. Right then, item 8, parking discount policy amendment, pages 53 to 62. Hopefully this is the opposite of the sting in the tail, Mark, and actually hopefully the slightly better piece of news when it comes to parking. So could I invite Councillor Mark Bainham, Deputy Leader and Cabinet Member for Finance and Resources, to introduce this report.
I'm not sure I like the repetition of the phrase sting in the tail, Martin, but never mind. Okay, yes. So this report seeks Cabinet approval for amendments to the parking services discount policy to broaden the scope of available discounts to include town centre day passes alongside quarterly season tickets. You'll remember that last year I raised the day passes by a significant amount, given that they had been static for between 5 and 10 years and they needed to be brought in alignment. But we did have some discussions with representatives of Horsham businesses, BID, and it was pointed out that whereas we have a discount policy for season tickets, there was no discount policy for the bulk buy of day passes. And if you're bulk buying, you could consider that a form of season ticket. So we had some discussions, and we've come to a conclusion which results in this recommendation, and that is to offer a 10% discount to the bulk buy of 50 or more day passes at one time. This will be of most interest to businesses or employees who work not every day but many days of the week in the town centre. I think this is a reasonable response to concerns that were raised, and also, as I said before, it aligns with our existing policies on season tickets. So the recommendation is to approve the amended parking services discount policy, which includes this, then to delegate authority to the Director of Resources in consultation with myself to make minor editorial changes to the policy prior to publication, and to delegate also to Dominic and myself to agree and implement concessions in line with the said policy. And just to note that the monitoring officer will reflect the above noted delegation in the Council's constitution, pursuant to her authority to do so per Article 13, paragraph 13(3)(b)(3) of the Constitution, should the subject delegation be approved.
Thanks very much. Any other comments from Cabinet members on this one? No? I'll just say that I'm particularly pleased to see this one coming forward in response to, in particular, conversations with the BID and others. I think it's a good initiative. With that, are there any questions from other members present on this item? Councillor Knoll.
Thank you, Chairman. Just one little question to do with the definition of businesses. I understand that you've consulted with BID. How do you define a business? Is this bulk buy available to other bodies apart from businesses? Is there some kind of parameter that you use to work out if bulk buying is justified?
Well, this is mainly going to be for the benefit of businesses, but we have not restricted it to any particular form of body or persons. So if you wish to, you may go and buy 50 and get your 10% discount, as would any business in the community.
So that'll be open to anyone, will it? Or it has to be some kind of organisation?
No, a private person can buy.
Private person could do the same?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much indeed.
If there are no other questions, then we'll move to the vote on this one then. Can I see a vote in favour of the recommendations from Cabinet members? Okay, that's unanimous. Thanks. Right. Item 9, Digital and Technology Strategy 2024 to 2027 on pages 63 to 78. I invite Councillor Tony Franklin, Cabinet Member for Performance, Customer Service and Communications, to introduce this report.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I'll say a few words about this. The Digital and Technology Strategy for 2024-27 outlines Horsham District Council's approach to enhancing digital services in line with the Council Plan over the same period. This strategy aims to make online services more accessible, secure and efficient through the adoption of cloud technology. And key objectives include improving customer satisfaction, enabling 24/7 access, increasing operational efficiency, and ensuring transparency and therefore usefulness of data. This strategy emphasises the importance of flexibility and responsiveness. It prioritises modern web-based technologies that can be easily adapted to meet our evolving needs. By focusing on principles-led decision-making, the Council ensures that new technologies are selected on the basis of functionality, cost, and future requirements. The strategy will enable us to refresh our technology infrastructure, allowing for rapid deployment of reusable components from various suppliers or internal staff. Collaboration and sharing of information will be improved. It will reduce reliance on traditional email and local storage and help streamline operations. It also prioritises data security, of course, with a risk-based approach to managing information, and will ensure compliance with all recognised accreditation standards. By balancing personal data with community data, Horsham District Council aims to enhance its service provision whilst ensuring value for money. Cloud-based technology will play a central role in delivering a multi-channel, customer-focused council, offering citizens more effective ways to interact with our services. The customer and digital team will continue to collaborate with service areas across the council and suppliers to drive business transformation, ensuring that the strategy is aligned with best practices and needs of the community. And I would encourage people to read the full document. It is, in my opinion, quite exciting. It's quite ambitious, and I think that it gives a view of how things will change through the application of technology in the next few years. Of course, it's not tenable to not have a digital and technology strategy. We have to have one, and I recommend that this strategy is adopted for the period 24 to 27. Thank you.
Thanks, Tony. Any other comments from Cabinet members on this proposal? No. Any questions from other members present on this item? Councillor Knoll.
Thank you again, Chairman. Yes, I'm very impressed with this. I understand the reasoning behind it all, but the Cabinet member's presentation had various sort of phrases in it that I didn't always understand. I'm just wondering if you could expand on what principle-led decision-making actually means.
I might refer that to the head of digital services to perhaps explain that.
That is using technology principles in order to make decisions on technology that allows effective decision making and use of data. So looking at the technology principles out there, mainly the principles that are laid down by the government in the local digital declaration and other strategic sort of principles, like it will take into account data protection, cyber security in making our decisions around technology.
Okay, thank you. Yes, I understand the principle of it, so thank you very much for the explanation.
Okay, if there are no further questions, I'll move to a vote on this item in favour of the recommendations on page 63. Okay, that's unanimous too. Thank you very much. Item 10, clinical waste collections and support services, pages 79 to 83. I invite Councillor Jay Mercer, Cabinet Member for Environmental Health, Recycling and Waste, to introduce this report.
Thank you, Leader. Under Section 45 of the Environmental Protection Act, Horsham District Council, as a waste collection authority, have a duty to arrange for the collection of household waste, including clinical waste produced at domestic properties. West Sussex County Council have a duty to dispose of clinical waste. In April 2019, West Sussex entered into an agreement with a supplier to provide both the collection and support services for clinical waste, as well as the treatment and disposal of the waste. And Horsham called off on this contract to provide the collection and support services. And this is due to expire on the 31st of March next year, 2025. And this report simply seeks authority to award a contract following a procurement exercise with West Sussex operating as the lead procuring authority. Representatives from Horsham and the other 6 Ds and Bs are working in partnership with West Sussex to facilitate the procurement process. And following the finalisation of that procurement process in December this year, the contract would be awarded to the preferred supplier for commencement on the 1st of April 2025. So the Cabinet's recommended to approve the direct award of a contract for clinical waste collection and support services via the West Sussex Framework Agreement following the procurement process, and to delegate authority to the Director of Communities in consultation with the Head of Legal and Democratic Services to finalise the terms and conditions of and enter into the contract through the West Sussex Framework Agreement. And I commend that to you.
Thank you very much, Jay. Are there any other comments on this one from Cabinet members? No. I saw Councillor Circus move the microphone, so I suspect he would like to say something.
Well, Jay would be very disappointed if I didn't ask some question relating to his portfolio. So here goes, and I'm going to follow my colleague Roger Knowles. He's obviously trying to compete being a lawyer because he's asking for the meaning of words. Well, I'm going to ask for the meaning of expressions. I'm going to ask for the meaning of clinical waste. And there's a reason for asking that question. And that's that one of the things we've looked at and discussed, and for all I know, we may actually pursue in due course, in the context of the revision of our waste collection services, and it's to a degree related to the discussions we've had about food waste, is the idea of having what's sometimes colloquially called a smellies collection, a weekly smellies collection that would contain a number of relatively unpleasant items, which I always understood could include things like incontinence pads. Now, I'm just wondering whether, if we do go down that road, there's going to be there could be a crossover between collection of clinical waste, which we're doing as a separate category, and which I know has to go to incineration and doesn't go to the MBT plant, at least that's my understanding, and what might go into a regular smellies collection, and whether that would need to be looked at. Thank you.
Well, I'll try and answer the generalities of that, and perhaps I can ask the Director to pick up on the specifics. I mean, clearly, as far as I'm aware, that we have had no complaints or issues arising out of this contract over the years it's been in operation. So therefore, we don't have proposals at the moment to introduce an additional auxiliary smellies collection. And clearly that would have a range of additional costs attached to it. The expectation is that this re-procurement would be in and around the same sort of cost as the current contract. So we're not planning for that. The definition of clinical waste, as I understand it in the report, is in paragraph 3 of Schedule 1 to the Controlled Waste Regulations of 2012. I haven't dug into that recently as to exactly what detail it goes into, but I'll stop at that point and ask Paul if he's got anything to add to that.
Thank you, Chairman. I also haven't delved into that schedule of definitions. Clinical waste does include adult absorbent hygiene products, nappies. So at the moment, we do provide that weekly collection of that kind of product to the people who use it. One thing that we will be looking to do, though, going forward is our normal waste stream can accommodate a decent number of nappy products, essentially. So what we will be looking to do is to shift some of that waste from the clinical contract into our normal waste collection services, and that will help to drive down the cost of the clinical waste contract. So once we've established the contract, we'll be doing some work to look at what is in clinical waste. We won't obviously be going into the bags, but by kind of the feel and weight of them, and to communicate with individual households to say, if you've got this kind of product, you can put a bag of it into your general waste bin every week. And obviously, maybe we need to provide a bigger bin to some households, and we would do that to facilitate that.
Councillor Lambert.
Thank you, which raises the question, would, if that service ever came to be, would that include items like EpiPens, which at the moment I'm still collecting in an orange bucket, because they now only last 1 year, not 2, and you have to go through this rigmarole by phoning a telephone number, which is never answered, to actually get the bucket collected. Thank you.
If I go straight to Paul on that one, I think. Do you know?
I'll need to go back to the team to get an answer. In theory, we could collect EpiPens, but if it's a low level of collection we need, there's probably an effective bucket system is the one you want, isn't it? So I'll check with Laura Parker and get back to you.
Yeah, but that doesn't really work.
Okay.
I see hidden talents from the deputy leader. Mark might have something on this.
I just have some experience here because my son has an allergy which requires him to have an EpiPen. We dispose of them at a local pharmacy. We dispose of them at a local pharmacy.
I've been told that pharmacies don't take them any longer, and surgeries certainly don't take them any longer. And I did take them to a pharmacy, and they said you have to use the bucket and phone the number. And I phoned the number and phoned the number, and you never get an answer. But I'll try again at the pharmacy if you can recommend one that will take them.
This is the last time we used it was about a year ago, and that was
Yeah.
in Billingshurst, the Arran Valley Pharmacy, but haven't been there recently, so they may have changed the rules.
Yeah, they change them all the time. They used to just take them back. Thank you.
Jay?
My wife also needs to carry an EpiPen. And I think if there's a query about how they're being disposed of appropriately, as Paul has committed to, we will look into that and make sure information is available.
Excellent, because I've got a bucket full.
Okay. If there are no further questions on this one, we'll move to a vote on the recommendations, please, as shown on page 79. Okay, that's unanimous. Thank you very much. Right. Item 11, contract award for Sierra Place, pages 85 to 89 of the pack. I invite Councillor Joanne Knowles, Cabinet Member for Economic Development and Property, to introduce this report.
Thank you, Leader. The contract award at Sierra Place, further to Cabinet approval on the 29th of May, I hope you'll hear me, to acquire and refurbish the leasehold of premises in Sierra Place. This Cabinet is recommended to approve the award of the works contract to facilitate the fit-out to ensure the offices are ready for a timely move-in in 2025. The proposed contract is within the approved revenue budget of £2.5 million. The Cabinet is recommended to approve the award of works contract to facilitate the fit-out of the Council's new offices to Company 1 as detailed in the exempt appendix. Secondly, to delegate authority to the Director of Place in consultation with the Head of Legal and Democratic Services to finalise the terms and conditions of and enter into the required contract on the terms contained in the exempt appendix. And finally, to approve the procurement exemption to facilitate the award of the works contract to Company One. I therefore put before you the recommendations contained in the report, and thank you.
Thanks very much, Joanne. Are there any comments on this from other Cabinet members? No. Questions from other members present? Councillor Clark.
Thank you, Leader. Specific question on recommendation 3. What exactly is the exemption about? Thank you.
Can I ask Head of Property Liz to answer that one? Thank you.
The exemption is because of the value of the contract is to not carry out an open tender on this process. So it's not to carry out the open tender, and that's in relation to the time that we've got to actually organise this and to move out of these premises.
So the exemption is because it's time limited and we don't have the time to do a proper procurement exercise. Is that what you're saying?
That's correct. We did go to 2 parties, but we haven't gone to an open tender.
Thank you.
Councillor Knoll.
Thank you, Chairman. Just a quick one. The revenue budget is 2.5 million, as we know. Are we going to be, are members going to be have sight of a breakdown of that figure, or is it just going to be one lump?
I don't know if that's been decided. Liz, is that going to be something we could arrange?
The 2.5 million was broken down at the previous cabinet meeting in March.
I'm sorry if I may well have forgotten since March, so apologies if there is a record somewhere. I'll try and dig it out. Thank you very much.
Okay, I'm not seeing any other hands, so in that case, we can move to a vote from Cabinet members, please, in favour of the recommendations on page 85. Okay, that's unanimous too. Thank you very much. Right. Item 12, Wilder Horsham District Project Extension, pages 91 to 104. I invite Councillor Colette Blackburn, Cabinet Member for Climate Action and Nature Recovery, to introduce this report.
Thank you. Wilder Horsham District is a unique project that involves a partnership with the Sussex Wildlife Trust to enable the development of nature recovery networks across the district, as well as to link up those beyond our boundaries. The initiative was established in April 2020 and commenced in October 2020 with the employment of the project team. Funding was approved for 5 years up to March 2025. The Wilder Horsham District project team consists of 2 land advisors and 1 part-time project support officer. They are based at the Sussex Wildlife Trust in order to access the expertise at that organisation, as well as contribution from other teams such as community engagement. The main focus of the initiative is to give advice to landowners and to managers regarding changes they can make to their land management practices and implement improvements and enhancements to habitats on their land. This aspect of the project has been very successful, with significant demand from the farming community, all without the need to publicise the initiative. Over 120 landowners have received advice in under 4 years, which exceeds the original target of 100. Additionally, at least 70 landowners have received follow-up visits to date. Building ongoing relationships is likely to see more projects delivered and at an increasing scale. There is a community element to Wilder Horsham District. Advice is provided to parish and neighbourhood councils and community groups on what actions they can take to manage their own land for the benefit of wildlife, as well as how to encourage their residents to act. The report seeks approval to extend the project for a further 3 years, up to the end of March 2028, retaining the same sized project team and grant funding to kickstart projects. The budget of £378,000 would be taken from reserves. This timeframe allows the momentum to continue, whilst also ensuring the incorporation of knowledge and progress from other local initiatives, such as the Ada River Recovery Project and Wheel to Waves, and the impact of the implementation of biodiversity net gain. This timeframe will be used to inform the ongoing approach to biodiversity enhancement across the district. Cabinet is recommended to approve the continuation of the Wilder Horsham District Initiative until the 31st of March 2028, to delegate authority to the Director of Communities in consultation with the Cabinet Member for Climate Action and Nature Recovery to agree the terms of and enter into a new collaboration agreement with the Sussex Wildlife Trust, and to earmark a further £378,000 of general reserves into the Green Reserve for the costs of the Wilder Horsham District Initiative for the 3 years 2025-26 to 2027-28. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Colette. Do any other Cabinet members like to speak on this one? No? Okay, well, I'll just say then that I think this is a project or initiative that all sides of the council are very proud of, rightly so, and I'm happy to see the recommendation put forward for it to continue. Are there any questions on the recommendations from other members? Councillor Circus.
Thank you, Leader. This, of course, has been said and is in the papers, is a cooperative venture, if you like, between Horsham District Council and the Sussex Wildlife Trust. And we had a presentation, I remember, at the recent PDAG. At that PDAG, I asked the question, because it was a point made in passing by the Sussex Wildlife Trust that they've had experience of working with other local authorities. And I asked the question, perhaps they could elaborate on what that experience was, and also what results, and whether their relationship with other local authorities was as positive in terms of results as we've experienced here. I have to say, I didn't understand the answer that I got, and it may be because I think the answer was not fully given. I don't know whether anyone could have a go at. I know that it would be best to ask them this question directly, but I don't know whether we know how much involvement they have had with other local authorities, and whether perhaps we've spoken with other local authorities to dovetail into their experience. Thank you, Leader.
Thank you, Councillor Circus. Colette, do you have anything on that, or would like to refer it anywhere?
I'll ask the Director of Communities to respond on the detail on that, Councillor.
Thank you. I think my recollection was that Horsham District Council is the only local authority that Sussex Wildlife Trust have a relationship with, such as Wilder Horsham District, and that it's recognised by the wildlife trusts across the UK that this is the only such relationship between a local authority and a wildlife trust. I think that they said at the meeting that they've got a relationship with all the district and boroughs in East and West Sussex that works at differing levels, and I think that there's another authority, and I don't know which one it is, that they're in conversation with about establishing something similar to Wilder Horsham District. But I think that, from my recollection, that was about the tone of her answer.
Leader, it's just that I thought, no disrespect to the Sussex Wildlife Trust, But I think the presentation was slightly misleading because it implied that they had a serious relationship with other local authorities, when obviously they don't. I'm not talking now about the answer to my question, I'm talking about the presentation that was given. So there, no experience, no direct experience of any other local authorities working with the Sussex Wildlife Trust. And we've been guinea pigs in a sense, I suppose.
Go on, Colette.
I was about to, yeah, so we all had the same thought, trailblazers, yeah. Absolutely,
Trailblazers, I agree.
that's right. We're proud of it, yeah.
Possibly even eager beavers, who knows?
Eager beavers have been getting very bad press recently.
Councillor Knoll.
Thank you, Chairman. To start off with, I would suggest that perhaps we look to the Sussex Nature Partnership as part of the answer to your question, Philip, because the Sussex Nature Partnership is an established organisation which combines the wildlife trusts across various counties that surround us and also communicate with those councils within those districts. So I think that's the start of a pan-Sussex or pan-South Eastern England organisation. However, that's not the reason I put my hand up. My hand up was really to congratulate Cabinet on this grip. Well, I would say that, wouldn't I, actually? But I think it's absolutely marvellous that we are at least going forward for another 3 years on this, and I welcome the decision. I have one little question in that, as Mike and I know, the headquarters of Sussex Wildlife Trust lies within our wards, and there is a problem with Sussex Wildlife Trust in that the property they presently occupy is being sold from under them almost, and I'm just wondering if this council will be doing anything in the future to help support Sussex Wildlife Trust should they be evicted from their present premises. I'd hate to see Sussex Wildlife Trust suffer in any way and for it to interfere with this marvellous project. Can I ask that question, please?
You can ask that question. I'll see if anyone knows anything about it or can help. But my instinct of that would be if that does come to pass, we would want to try and cooperate and help with them if they came to us seeking assistance to the extent we're able to. But yes, Helen's indicating to me. So yeah.
I think the position, Roger, is that they're willingly choosing to sell their premises for various reasons. So that it's not that they lease it and the lease is finishing. It's their decision to sell the property and look for other premises that they feel are more suitable. Obviously, that's for them to determine, basically. So, yeah, that's the position as I understand it, is that they're choosing to sell. Part of it actually is carbon related. It's a very difficult building to retrofit. So that's part of it as well. And transport links.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the position.
Thank you very much, Helen. That's great news. Thank you. Okay. Well, I hope they do find somewhere else, and I hope they stay very local. That's great.
Thank you, Councillor Knoll. Were there any other, Councillor Clark?
Thank you. Well, I don't wish to rain on the parade and everything. Everybody's very happy about this and self-congratulatory, and it's fine. I mean, I would point out that it is a use of small 400,000 from our reserves, which is, as I said, a small amount. And in theory, I think it is in practice a good thing. But theoretically, when I look at the numbers, I just worry about the numbers, because if you look at paragraph 6.1, 6.2, 6.3 and 6.4 of item 7 in the agenda that we're looking at, you know, we are talking about using temporary grant use funding to balance the books. And I got the message that, yeah, it's $1 million less than before. Nevertheless, if you look at the capital programme desiderata, you're looking at 30 million, you've got reserves of 27 or something like that. I know that our Director of Finance is looking at this carefully, so all I'm saying basically is this is all very good, but don't lose sight of the fact that once the money is spent, the money is spent and it's gone. I don't wish to rain on your parade, I'm just saying be careful.
Thank you, Councillor Clark. My parade is not, it remains dry. Thank you very much. And your point is noted. I don't think it really leaves our minds particularly often the responsibilities we have and what we need to face going down the track. So thank you very much. Any questions? In that case, could I see a show of hands, please, in favour of the recommendations? That's unanimous. Thank you very much. Right. Item 13, Local Nature Recovery Strategy, pages 105 to 108. I invite Councillor Colette Blackburn, Cabinet Member for Climate Action and Nature Recovery, to introduce this report.
Thank you. The UK is a nature-depleted country. Local nature recovery strategies have been introduced as a way of driving action to reverse the national decline in biodiversity. The concept of developing these strategies was introduced in the Environment Act 2021. They are a mechanism to identify and map habitats that are important in the creation of nature recovery networks at a local level. A total of 52 local nature recovery strategies are currently being produced across the UK. Together, these will establish a national system of nature recovery networks. The production of the local nature recovery strategy for West Sussex is being led by West Sussex County Council in close collaboration with all the districts and boroughs, as well as the Sussex Nature Partnership. Consultation has taken place over the summer to shape the development of the strategy. This has included the farming community. Horsham District Council is a statutory consultee prior to the public consultation on the draft strategy. It is anticipated that the statutory consultation period will be late 2024, early 2025. In terms of the legislation, the Council has 28 days to object to the content of the strategy, as well as providing any other feedback. To ensure that this is not missed, the report to Cabinet requests delegated approval to the Director of Communities to make any objections and feedback on the strategy in consultation with the Cabinet Member for Climate Action and Nature Recovery. Once the pre-public consultation draft is received from West Sussex County Council, it will be distributed to members for comment, and depending when the draft is received, be discussed at a suitable PDAG meeting. Cabinet is recommended to delegate authority to the Director of Communities in consultation with the Cabinet Member for Climate Action and Nature Recovery to raise any objection and to agree and provide any other feedback to West Sussex County Council and Nature Recovery Strategy. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Colette. Does anyone else in the Cabinet have any comments to make on this one? No? Other members present? Oh, Councillor Clark got there just
Thank you.
just
Chairman of
before
Overview
you.
and Scrutiny, I wanted to thank the Cabinet Member and Helen Peacock also for coming to Overview and Scrutiny and going through this paper and explaining it to Overview and Scrutiny and support it. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Croker.
Thank you, Leader. Does the Cabinet Member have any indicative timescales as to when this draft will appear? I'm sorry if it's buried in the report somewhere that I missed it.
Helen?
We're anticipating receiving the pre-public consultation draft either at the end of this year, but to be honest, more likely at the beginning of next year. We get first a view of the draft as what's known as a supporting authority within the legislation. And once that information's then collated, a public consultation process will take place on the draft. And with the County Council elections in May, that may not take place till the summer, with obviously the pre-election period in between. But that's the timings as far as I understand it.
Thank you. Any other questions from members? No? In which case, then can we move to a vote in favour of the recommendations on page 105? Okay, that's unanimous too. Thank you. Item 14, Council Tax Reduction Scheme 2025-26 on pages 109 to 121. I invite Councillor Mark Bainham, Deputy Leader and Cabinet Member for Finance and Resources, to introduce this report.
Thank you, Chair. So we've had a council tax reduction scheme in this council for around 11 years now, and it's stayed roughly the same. The details are as laid out in the paper of what we currently have. But there has been one significant change in that scheme, is that whereas initially, or very soon after its inception, it was funded by jointly by ourselves as HDC, West Sussex and government. However, as time went on, we were getting less and less money from those other funders until we reached the position where we are funding it entirely by ourselves. It seems a good idea to review it. We have to review it anyway every year, but if we want to review it with a possibility of making some changes, then we need to go to a public consultation. Those are the rules we must follow. We are considering moving, and for me the favoured option is to move to a scheme as outlined in paragraph 1.9, which is either a 95 or 100% scheme. But the main, I suppose the crucial difference for us is that the scheme would be funded by all the people who receive the council tax, so the preceptors, in the proportion to the amount that they receive. So, for example, the police get 11.5% or just under, they would fund 11.5% of the scheme. Likewise, we would fund our part, which is 7.7%, the bulk being funded by West Sussex, who get 77%, and then there would be a small amount from the parishes who also do that. There are some other options about where the cap goes, or whether it's a Band D property, or whether it moves, which it currently is, or whether it moves to Band E. The other benefit about this, apart from if you could say selfish benefit of costing us less and costing other people more, is that the scheme as a whole, while providing pretty much the same level of benefit, actually miraculously costs less overall. And that's partly because at the moment, when people get their level of benefit, which is £195 flat rate, discretionary, they get that. So they get that in one go, whether or not they qualify it for the whole year or not. Whereas the scheme that we would anticipate would be a much more automated scheme, fitting in with our providers at Milton Keynes who operate the finances for us, rather than the manual processes that we have to go through now. So that actually takes people out. So I mean, at the moment, if I came in to move into the district now, midway through the year, and I was one of those 5,000 or 6,000 people who was eligible on the basis of low income, I would get £195, even though it's part year through. So those are the reasons for the cost savings on it. But anyway, the process now is not to make any decisions on this, but it is to have a proper consultation, which is a public consultation, and of course inform the stakeholders, principally the other preceptors, of the possibilities and get feedback from them. That process has already started with the preceptors. And then once we've had the result of the consultation, the feedback, we will consider, well, I will consider with the Director for Resources on whether we need to revise the scheme, and if so, how it should be revised, and then that would be brought before Council. So all we're asking today is for the Cabinet to approve that we move to the consultation, formal consultation process.
Thanks very much, Mark. Other comments from Cabinet members on this one? No? Okay. Just to say I'm very supportive of this move. It's something I've wanted for us to move forward with for a little while, moving to consultation on this, so I'm pleased to see this one come before us. Any questions, please, from other members present? Councillor Circus.
1.6, can I take it that pensioner and the pension age is the state pension age? I'm assuming that's the case.
I'm pretty sure it means the state pension age.
Yes, and and what do we mean by a pensioner household? Because you can have a pensioner living with somebody who gets, is earning, still earning and maybe earning quite a deal. I get the impression, and it's probably right, that there's a lot of discretion and judgment goes into deciding what's appropriate in particular circumstances. But I don't know whether...
Yeah, that's the case. I mean, it's a discretionary scheme with a focus on the word discretionary. But as far as a pensioner household, I mean, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but it's where there aren't other income earners apart from the pensioners.
So, I mean, this is a complicated area. The discretionary element is limited to the £195 that we currently choose to supplement, if you like. The actual 90% scheme as it stands at the moment, which is funded by all the different preceptors, has rules and regulations about it. The ones of pensioners are very protected, and I don't know the answer to that, but I suspect even if they did live with someone else, they might not qualify for council tax support because of the income of the non-dependent that they live with. And there are various calculations that will have to be made to see whether the person, the pensioner in that house, actually qualifies for that or not. It will be different on a case-by-case basis, so I can't give you a specific answer to it.
Are there any other questions on this item? No, in which case, can we move to the vote, please, on the recommendations as per set out in pages 109. Okay, that's unanimous too. Thank you very much. Item 15, Enterprising Horsham Economic Prospectus and Business Charter, pages 123 to 148. I invite Councillor Joanne Knowles, Cabinet Member for Economic Development and Property, to introduce this report.
Thank you, Leader. This report seeks approval to undertake consultations with internal and external stakeholders on two key documents, an economic prospectus and a business charter, which form part of Enterprising Horsham, the new economic development framework for the district that will replace and refresh the current economic development and visitor economic strategies. Enterprising Horsham details our new approach to supporting local economy and driving forward our council's plans aim to build a thriving economy that benefits local people, businesses and places. A key pillar of our economic vision is to build a thriving economy that is greener and fairer for all, where current and future generations are able to thrive whilst protecting, enhancing and enjoying the many quality spaces and places that our district has to offer. The keys to success will be a one council approach driven through a new business charter that will unlock the full potential of our many talented staff through better coordination and cross-council working to support the local economy. The business charter will also drive better collaboration with local and strategic partners to help unlock the full potential of external resources to align them behind Enterprising Horsham. In this context, the Council will play an important community leadership role in convening and influencing the necessary key players to drive action on the ground. It's important that such documents are shaped by those impacted, and to this end, a period of consultation will be undertaken to seek the views of internal and external stakeholders to inform final versions that will be reported back to Cabinet for approval in early 2025, ready for publication and delivery from April 2025.
Therefore, Cabinet is asked to approve the publication of the Enterprising Horsham Economic Prospectus and Business Charter documents for stakeholder consultations and delegate authority to the Director of Place in consultation with myself to finalise the documents ready for consultation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Joanne. Are there any comments from Cabinet members on this one? Ruth?
I'd like to thank Councillor Knoll for picking this up mid-flow, as it were, and also to say that we've got Greg on board, who's done a really good job here, pulling things together very quickly. I've been impressed by the way the team's worked on this, and they've had a very open approach with a lot of consultation informally with members and others on the way to get to this stage.
Thanks very much, Ruth. Any others? No, in which case, questions. Councillor Clark.
Thank you, Leader. Not a question, but a statement, really. Again, I'd like to thank Greg and Claire Mangan and Councillor Knoll for coming to Over in Scrutiny. I think we had a very good discussion over in Scrutiny with a couple of points put across, which I hope will be helpful towards the implementation of the final document. I'd just like to thank the team for all the hard work they've done. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Clark. Councillor Knoll.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm not trying to deliberately pick holes. It's just I appreciate that a lot of this is you have taken over from your previous portfolio holder. But again, there appears to be a lot of jargonised phrases littered through your presentation. I'm just wondering what a one council approach actually means.
It's what it will mean is that everybody is responsible for economic development, not just the team. So there will be an emphasis on planning, for example, to ensure that when businesses need planning permission, it is understood that there is an economic factor driving support of not saying yes to planning applications, but supporting the process through which businesses go through, as one example. Signage, ensuring that that's correct and that approval goes through for that, for example, on new premises. And so planning is one of the main areas, but also car parking and the new reduction in the cost of season tickets is something that will help support the economic growth of Horsham District.
Okay, I'm happy with that explanation. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any others? No? Okay, in which case then, can we move to a vote, please, on this one, in favour of the recommendations on page 123? That's unanimous. Thank you very much. Item 16, residential property portfolio on pages 149 to 155. Once again, I invite Councillor Joanne Knowles, Cabinet Member for Economic Development and Property, to introduce this report. Thanks.
Thank you, Leader. Housing consent. This report seeks authority to submit applications to the Secretary of State to facilitate the lettings of Council's residential properties. The Council owns the freehold of several properties which it lets to its housing company for onward rental to end users under an assured short-hold tenancy agreement. The law provides that the Secretary of State consent is required for certain disposals, including leases, for example, the Council's housing company. The Secretary of State has issued a series of general consent, negating the requirement to obtain specific consent, which the Council relies on for the initial lease. All future consecutive lets require specific Secretary of State approval. I therefore put before you the recommendations contained in this report. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Joanne. Any other Cabinet members have any comments on this one? No? Councillor Clark.
Thank you, Chairman. I just heard what Councillor Knowles said and I didn't understand a word of it. When I read this report, essentially, for me, I looked at it and the question that went through my mind was, is this a housekeeping exercise? Or did we not have the ability to do this before? Or did we have an approval that's run out of time? Or is this something that, or has something changed? Or is it simply because the government's changed? I don't know. But I don't understand what's behind it. And when I looked at specifically item 1.7 in the proposal, is the answer in there that once a consent has been relied upon, it can't be invoked again. So can somebody please explain a bit better than what the report does, please?
Yes, it is a difficult thing to explain, and I did try to make it as clear as possible, so apologies if I failed. As I understand it, and I'm sure Lauren will step in if I've miscommunicating this, that initially the law provides Secretary of State consent for the first lease to happen because they can't cope with the workflow. In order to run a subsequent lease, which might be to the same tenant, after the 5-year period, we have to reapply. And that has to be done because they will do it as a part of the law providing certain disposals if there's a 1-year gap. But if it is concurrent, or not concurrent, but runs consecutively, thank you, then we do need to go back to the Secretary of State for permissions.
And we have to do this for every lease, or are we just looking for a general permission?
We're hoping the plan is to bring them all into line, but obviously the leases don't start at the same time with different buildings. So the plan is once we've got a sufficient block together, then we'll bring them all into line. Can I just check, Lauren?
That's absolutely correct. Thank you.
Okay, I don't see any other questions or comments. So in which case, shall we move to the vote, please, in favour of the recommendations as set out on page 149, including recommendations to council? That's unanimous too. Thank you very much. Right. Item 17, Overview and Scrutiny Committee. I invite Councillor Paul Clark, Chairman of the Overview and Scrutiny Committee, to speak on any matters the committee would like to refer to Cabinet.
Thank you, Leader. There are no matters to refer to Cabinet.
Thank you, Councillor Clark. Item 18, the Forward Plan. This item is for noting. Does any member of the Cabinet have anything to say on this item? No. Item 19, matters of special urgency. There are no urgent matters to consider this evening. I therefore close this meeting. Thank you very much all for your time.